Chapter 71 The Fisherman Enters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shooters, lock and load. Guan Li commanded. High in the trees, the elven archers were ready. Loose. Arrows rained down, arcing toward the goblin camp. Jos the Brave scanned the surroundings, alert, then he saw it, a feathered arrow appearing against the dark sky. Ambush. We're under attack. Only then did Jos react. The explosive arrows slammed into the goblin camp, a wave of explosions ripped through the area. Aya! Screams echoed as goblins were thrown to the ground, their armor shattered, large burns marred their green skin, the goblins struggled to their feet, their faces twisted in rage and pain, like demons risen from hell. The explosive arrows weren't enough to kill the 4-star goblins outright, only to inflict serious injuries. They're outside the camp. Fight back. Fight back. Jos the Brave reacted quickly, organizing a counterattack. He forgot about Hal, the leader. Dealing with the attackers was now the priority. Hal, seizing the opportunity, made his escape. From the watchtowers, goblins pinpointed the source of the arrows. Soon they spotted the elven archers. They notched their arrows and returned fire. Arrows flew towards the woods. The elven archers stopped shooting and nimbly dodged the incoming projectiles. Goblins were 4-star monsters. After all, their attacks posed a real threat. Guan Li knew this wouldn't be easy. Intelligent creatures were a far tougher challenge than zombies. Luckily, infighting had already decimated the goblin ranks, leaving them weakened. Otherwise, tonight would have cost them dearly. Melee team, charge. With the elven archers pinned down, the melee fighters could move in. Let's go. Kill M. The sound of battle rose around the goblin camp. The soldiers charged directly into the fray. What the hell is going on? Jos the Brave was dumbfounded. He hadn't imagined so many enemies lying in wait. But there was no time for questions. He drew his broadsword and charged forward. The goblins on the watchtowers shifted their aim. They fired at the advancing soldiers. The armored shieldbearers raised their shields. Advancing slowly, arrows bounced harmlessly off the shields. Shadow sword cultivators hid behind the shieldbearers. As they neared the watchtowers, they activated their abilities. Like shadows, they materialized behind the goblin archers. In a flurry of blades, the goblin archers fell. Crackling. They're coming up. Goblin spearmen rushed to reinforce the watchtowers. With the spearmen engaged, the soldiers entered the camp. 10 armored shieldbearers climbed the watchtowers to support the shadow sword cultivators. The remaining soldiers continued to advance into the camp. Melee erupted on the watchtowers. Both sides took losses, but the goblins were at a distinct disadvantage. The elven archers repositioned themselves. Arrows of ice rained down on the camp. The 4 commanders joined the charge. Damn you! I'll get my revenge. Just you wait. Hidden in the woods, Hal dragged himself away, wounded and enraged. His right arm was gone, and blood flowed freely. His accelerated healing had already begun to scab over the wound, but the arm was gone for good, unless he could find some rare artifact. Shashasha. A rustling sound surrounded him, his nerves tensed. I didn't save you so you could run. Guan Li's voice echoed around him, tone you active. Who's there? Hal's face paled. He looked around warily. A figure dropped from a tree and landed in front of him, an ugly human wielding a strange long sword. A mere insect dares to stand in my way. Hal breathed a sigh of relief. In his experience, humans were weak and made a good meal. He was hungry anyway. This one would replenish his strength. Hal strode toward Guan Li. You underestimate me, Guan Li said, annoyed. He activated Bleeding Soul Slash. A bloody arc of energy formed on his sword. The expression on Hal's face shifted to alarm. Green light fist. Dazzling green energy bloomed on his left arm. The attacks collided. Hal was hurled back, crashing into a thick tree. Cough, cough. He gasped for air, spitting blood. Guan Li was also knocked back, but unharmed. He crushed a supply card. His energy was quickly restored. A 5-star junior human, Hal said in disbelief. At full strength, he could crush a 5-star junior. But he was wounded, missing an arm. His strength was at its lowest ebb. Humph. Even injured, I'm still a 5-star senior. You think you can kill me? Think again. Hal crushed the bone and tooth necklace around his neck. A terrifying energy surged through him. His body was rapidly restored. It wasn't full strength, but it was enough to deal with the human in front of him. "You're dead," Hal charged towards Guan Li. Guan Li met his attack head-on. Quick Shadow blessed him with incredible agility. Wielding the blood-drinking blade, he opened wounds on Hal's body. Hal, with only one arm, couldn't touch him. "Damn it! Stop dodging!" Hal was enraged. He slammed his foot on the ground. The earth trembled. Guan Li staggered for a moment. "Die, little bastard!" Hal seized the opportunity. Dragon End. Guan Li didn't panic. An icy blue beam struck Hal's arm. The punch slowed drastically. Hand of the Blood Demon. Exploding fist. The monstrous arm materialized. Violent power coalesced within it and slammed into Hal. Boom. Hal was sent flying. The flesh of his arm exploded, leaving only bare bones. "Aya!" Hal screamed. Long Chi materialized behind him. Devouring claw pierced Hal's heart. The sound of tearing flesh filled the air. "You!" Hal's eyes widened as if he were looking at a demon. Long Chi ripped out his arm, leaving a bloody hole. Hal stumbled and fell. A purple card appeared on Hal's body. Killed Goblin Leader. Hal, reward 30,000 points. Tooth of the Wild Beast. Successfully completed the Kill Goblin Leader. Hal, the option is completed. Reward Goblin's Treasure X1. The system notifications chimed. Chapter 72. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan Li stepped forward and pocketed the purple card. After the dragon devoured leader Hal's heart, his strength surged. Soon, he'd be breaking through to 5-star intermediate. Guan Li plunged the blood-drinking blade into Hal's body. The dragon got the heart, the blade got the flesh. Talk about sharing the spoils. Bloody tentacles instantly wrapped the corpse. Guan Li used this time to check the system's rewards. Tooth of Rage. Slightly improves the wearer's strength, only valid for those below 10 stars. It was an unknown animal tooth, about the size of an index finger. Guan Li threaded the Fong of Rage onto a rope and put it around his neck. After putting it on, he felt a mysterious power, a nice little trinket. The bloodthirsty blade drained every last drop of Leader Hal's blood. The sword vibrated slightly as a thick, blood-colored light emerged. Ding! The bloodthirsty blade has been upgraded to 6-star advanced. Another surprise. The bloody tentacles rolled up a crystal core and handed it to Guan Li. This crystal core was the size of a baby's fist, covered in irregular prisms. Guan Li held the crystal core and began to absorb it. Surging energy coursed through his body. Guan Li was long accustomed to the process of absorbing energy. Boo! He felt some kind of barrier within his body shatter. 5-star intermediate. That goblin leader's crystal core packed a punch. "Commanders, what's the situation on your end?" Guan Li used his mental link to contact the other commanders. "Master, there's a small force left. Resistance is minimal." Bone's voice crackled. "Okay. Keep pressing the attack. I'll be right back." Guan Li cut off the connection and rushed towards the goblin camp. The goblin camp was ablaze. Tents were engulfed in flames. Dead goblins littered the ground. Dozens of goblins were surrounded in front of the leader's tent. The brave Joss was covered in wounds, panting heavily. Priest Meyer looked exhausted, like he'd been badly hurt. The remaining goblin soldiers stood guard in front of them. Behind them, huddled together, were dozens of goblin women and children. "Kill!" The legionnaires charged. In the battle just now, the legion lost over 30 soldiers, but the results were clear. The goblin tribe was almost completely wiped out. Facing the legion's charge, brave Joss raised his broadsword, desperately trying to block the attacks, but the repeated battles had exhausted him. Surrounded by legionnaires, Joss died in battle. Shen Lian's sword lopped off his head. Killed goblin brave Joss. Reward 10,000 points. Guan Li had barely returned to camp when the system notification sounded. Longqi. Help out! The legionnaires were mopping up the last resistance. Long Chi nodded and charged forward. His massive arms instantly tore apart a goblin soldier. Priest Meyer was too weak to resist. It regretted everything. Why did it start this fight? The dragon pierced its heart and devoured it. Killed goblin priest Meyer. Reward 15,000 points. Cursed doll X1. The system announced Priest Meyer's demise. Only a few dozen goblin women and children remained in the camp. They glared at Guan Li, their eyes filled with hate. Guka. Devil, a goblin child hissed. This is war. I won't show mercy. You should have thought about this day would come when you were hunting and killing humans. Guan Li's tone was cold, devoid of any pity. Even these goblins included young children, some still suckling, but so what? Reality was cruel. If the situation were reversed today, if humans were surrounded by goblins, what would happen to them? Master, what do we do with these prisoners? Gu asked, brandishing his big knife. Kill them. Leave no one alive, Guan Li said calmly. As you command. The legionnaires raised their swords and slaughtered the remaining goblins. Cruel? Not even close, compared to what goblins did to humans, this was downright merciful. Two opposing races, either you die or I die. Master, all of them are dead. Here are the spoils. The three commanders knelt before Guan Li. Shen Lian handed over 120 blue cards and 2 purple cards. Bone handed over 234 star crystal cores and 2 5-star crystal cores. In this battle, over 30 soldiers had fallen. They had used 20 supply cards and 30 recovery cards, but the rewards were substantial. Guan Li stashed the 4-star crystal cores in his space ring. He kept the 2 5-star cores and started to absorb them. 2 torrents of energy flooded into Guan Li's body. Every cell greedily absorbed the power. Soon, the energy dissipated. He didn't break through, but his energy reserves had greatly increased. Longqi, these are all yours. Guan Li pointed at the goblin corpses littering the ground. He planned to rest here tonight. These corpses needed to be cleaned up. Longqi's devouring claws sprung to life, dealing with the bodies. Then, he examined the rewards from killing Priest Meyer. Cursed doll, write the name of the person you wish to curse on the doll, and that person will receive special attention from the god of misfortune. Nice little trinket, Guan Li thought. Putting it away, he then took out all the blue cards he had acquired today. Time for the lottery. A total of 126 blue cards, ready to be unlocked. Obtained intermediate advanced card X5. Obtained low-level armor card X50. Obtained fine iron or X25. Obtained premium food card X10. Obtained magic flame flower seeds X6. After successfully planting, you can get a magic flame flower, which requires specific professional training. Obtained a low-level weapon card X30. You can choose a 2-star weapon at will. The system notifications kept coming. The rewards weren't bad. There were plenty of equipment cards, perfect for replacing the Legionnaires' worn-out gear. Then, Guan Li pulled out the blue card with the 3x reward. Obtained intermediate weapon card X3. You can choose a 3-star weapon at will. Not bad, Guan Li thought, continuing to open cards. The 4 bright purple cards glowed, alluring and powerful. Guan Li didn't hesitate, and crushed the 4 purple cards immediately. Acquire Legion Expansion Card, 10-person, X1. Acquire Legion Upgrade Card X1. Obtain Disguise X1. After learning, you can change your appearance at will. Obtain Weakness Art X1. After learning, you can apply weakness to the designated target, reducing strength by 10%, lasting for 1 minute. The system announcements came one after another. Jackpot, Guan Li exclaimed. Purple cards really were powerful. 2 skills, 1 expansion card, and 1 upgrade card. Both skills were fantastic. Guan Li didn't hesitate and learned them immediately. Ding! Congratulations to the host for learning the disguise technique. Ding! Congratulations to the host for learning the weakness technique. The system sounded. Guan Li felt 2 massive streams of knowledge flood his mind. He mastered the 2 skills, disguise and weakness, instantly. Chapter 73 Silver Lion Cavalry Legion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Disguise. Guan Li's face began to morph, shifting and changing. My lord! You look exactly like me. Shen Lian exclaimed, staring at the person before him. It was as if he were looking at his own reflection. Look like me, huh? The person pretending to be Shen Lian spoke, but the voice was still clearly different. The mannerisms were off, too. Exactly. Shen Lian nodded quickly, realizing that even he would have trouble telling the real from the fake. Guan Li seemed pleased. He activated the disguise technique again, returning to his original appearance. The only real flaw in the disguise was the voice and the small gestures, but other than that, it was flawless. Master. That's amazing. Bone said. Can you turn into me? Nah. That sounds like trouble. Guan Li replied, worried he wouldn't be able to change back from a skeleton. Weakness. Guan Li targeted Bone and cast the weakness spell. Master. I'm sorry. Bone whimpered, feeling his body become heavy, his strength and speed diminished. It'll wear off in a minute, Guan Li said, waving his hand dismissively. Okay. Bone replied quickly, with his abilities ready. Guan Li took out a treasure chest, the reward for completing the quest, Goblin's Treasure, a gift for the warrior who wiped out the goblin tribe, offering rich rewards. He eagerly opened the chest. A dazzling light emanated from within. Ding! Congratulations! You've received a Fantasy Legion card X1. The system chimed. Guan Li was stunned for a moment, then grinned. He didn't know how it differed from the Machine Legion card, but any Legion card was a score. A dreamlike card materialized from the chest, which then vanished. Only the Fantasy card remained, thin as a cicada's wing, shimmering with silver light. Fantasy Legion Summon, used to obtain a Fantasy-type Legion. So that's it. Legions are divided by type. Guan Li mused, realizing that the cheapest legions in the points shop were likely the most basic ones, like ordinary soldiers made of flesh and blood with no upgrades or special abilities. He felt lucky he hadn't drawn one of those from the start. Guan Li held the Fantasy Legion card and crushed it. Click. Congratulations. You've obtained the Silver Lion Cavalry Legion card. The question mark on the card had transformed into a silver-haired man riding a silver lion, followed by thousands of lion cavalry. Cavalry? Guan Li was ecstatic. Cavalry was a game-changer. He couldn't wait to use the Legion card. A silver summoning circle appeared in the camp, and 11 figures materialized. The summoning array vanished. 11 soldiers in full battle armor stood before Guan Li, each beside a silver lion. The lions were also armored, protecting their vital points without hindering their movement. Subordinate Kyle, reporting for duty. The silver-haired leader half-knelt before Guan Li. He was Kyle, the leader of the Silver Lion Riders. Kyle wore silver armor, his flowing silver hair and blue eyes giving him an otherworldly appearance. The silver lion beside him was even more impressive, its limbs, body, and neck protected by silver armor, with silver energy crackling around its paws. Stand at ease. Guan Li instructed the soldiers, eager to check the Silver Lion Riders' stats. Silver Lion Cavalry Legion, upgradable, number, 10, potential, 8 stars, strength, 4-star intermediate, leader, Kyle. Skills, Silver Lion Roar, War Trampling, Thunder Charge, Intimidation. The Silver Lion Riders were exactly what Guan Li wanted. Their combat abilities were incredible. The Silver Lions were massive, over 10 feet long and 6 feet high, proper war beasts. On the battlefield, the intimidation factor alone would be devastating. After all, in the age of cold steel, cavalry reigned supreme. And these Silver Lion Riders were creatures of fantasy, far stronger than ordinary horses. Without hesitation, Guan Li used the Legion expansion card on the Silver Lion Cavalry. Another silver summoning circle appeared, and 10 more soldiers astride silver lions materialized. System. Upgrade the Silver Lion Cavalry Legion. He used an upgrade card to power up the Silver Lion Riders. A powerful aura emanated from them as their strength surged, quickly reaching 4-star high level. Kyle. What do these war lions eat? Guan Li asked, knowing these were his trump card and wanting to keep them in top condition. Of his existing forces, the skeleton soldiers were undead and didn't need to eat, the shadow sword cultivators were cultivators and didn't need much, the elven archers also didn't need to eat, and the iron armored shield guards needed very little. Master. These war lions aren't picky. Meat is fine. Kyle answered. Guan Li nodded. That was no problem. He pulled out 24 high-quality food cards, which mostly contained high-energy meat. 20 delicious steaks appeared out of thin air. Woohoo! The silver lion roared softly, affectionately nuzzling Guan Li's leg. It was like a giant orange cat begging for food. Here you go. Guan Li tossed a steak into its mouth. One piece of the high-energy food would be enough to fill them up. Woo! The silver lion fawned over Guan Li. The other silver lions gathered around, also begging for food. Guan Li was happy to oblige, tossing steaks into their mouths. With the silver lions fed, Guan Li took out his equipment cards. Acquired intermediate weapon card X3, choose 3-star weapons at will. The 3 commanders, Gu, Shenlian, and Irene, already had 3-star weapons, so he'd give these to Leo and Kyle. Name, Axe of Furious War. Type, Axe. Grade, 3-star primary. Talent, Edge. Ability, Furious Strike. Description, an axe used by berserkers, imbued with violent power. Guan Li chose a 2-meter-long battle axe, the blade stained with crimson blood but still incredibly sharp. Leo. This is for you. He tossed the Axe of Furious War to Leo. Thank you, Master. Leo said, swinging the tomahawk a few times, obviously pleased. Guan Li turned to Kyle, who could wield 2 weapons, a spear and a 2-handed sword at his waist. Name, Spear of the Silver Wing. Type, Spear. Grade, 3-star primary. Talent, Sharp. Ability, Silver Wing Pierce. Description, a long spear forged from silver iron or with exceptional piercing power. Name, Storm Sword. Type, 2-handed sword. Grade, 3-star primary. Talent, Sharp. Ability, Storm Power. Description, a great sword forged from fine iron, imbued with the power of a powerful storm. Chapter 74 Primeval Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kyle, get going. Guan Li tossed him the spear and sword. Thanks, Master. Kyle took the weapons, dropping to one knee. Get up, Guan Li said, waving his hand. He added 20 new soldiers to the armored shield guards. Opening a low-level armor card, he selected the Shield Mountain Heavy Armor. Acquire Shield Mountain Heavy Armor X20. Guan Li equipped his legionnaires with the armor, replacing their old gear. Next up was the Undead Plate. Get Undead Plate X15. He replaced the Skeleton Shield Soldier's armor with it. With 15 primary armor cards left, Guan Li decided to give them to the Silver Lions. These armor cards weren't just for soldiers, they included Mount Armor 2, Name, Silver Armor Set, Claw Guard, Saddle, Neck Guard, Leg Guard. Type, Mount Armor. Grade, 2-star primary. Talent, Strong. Evaluation, armor made of silver iron or with strong defensive properties. Guan Li outfitted the Silver Lions. He planned to give the Shadow Sword cultivators the 30 primary weapon cards he had. Their current weapons were practically useless. Anyway, they had been with him since his time at Z University. Name, Refined Iron Sword. Type, Sword. Grade, 2-star primary. Talent, Edge. Evaluation, a long sword made of refined iron, very sharp. Guan Li handed the refined iron swords to the Shadow Sword cultivators. Long Qi had devoured all the goblin corpses in the camp with incredible speed. Everyone, rest here. Guan Li ordered, turning to head into the command tent. The Skeleton Legion took over watch duty. The night passed silently. The next morning, Guan Li emerged from the tent, stretched, and felt refreshed. All right, troops. Get ready to move out. Yes, sir. The soldiers responded. Leaving the goblin tribe behind, Guan Li headed deeper into the southern region. The tropical rainforest, located in the heart of the south, was where City Z's vast primeval forest had once stood. Lion cavalry was better suited for mountain and forest combat than regular cavalry. He dismissed most of his soldiers, leaving only the Silver Lion cavalry to scout ahead. Charge! Kyle commanded the Silver Lion riders to advance. Ordinary mutated creatures were no match for the Silver Lion's trampling hooves. Dozens of mutated wolves foolishly tried to challenge the Silver Lion riders. They charged. Thunder charge! Kyle raised his spear, targeting the wolves. Dazzling lightning crackled around the Silver Lions. The wolves were immediately scattered. The Silver Lion riders wheeled around and charged again. Caught completely off guard, the wolves were trampled into bloody corpses. The Silver Lions began to feed on the remains. Soon, the team moved on. the wolves had yielded 23 3-star crystal cores and 12 blue-green cards. The deeper they went into the southern region, the more powerful the mutated creatures became. Mutated creatures below 3 stars were nowhere to be seen. Guan Li encountered mutated plants he'd never seen before, like flowers that sprayed ice and vines that strangled mutated creatures, and piranhas with razor-sharp teeth. Luckily, the Silver Lion riders were strong enough to crush any mutated plant in their path. The changes in the southern region made Guan Li increasingly uneasy. The speed of biological evolution had far surpassed his expectations. He thought, this is me. Anyone else would have been devoured by mutated animals or plants long ago. Roar. Roar. Plants completely covered the path ahead. Guan Li activated his perception skills, constantly scanning his surroundings to avoid being ambushed by monsters in the jungle. Roar. A terrifying roar echoed in the distance. Guan Li moved forward and saw 2 massive creatures locked in combat. A black giant ape, over 15 feet tall, wielded a thick tree branch. Its opponent was a lizard. The lizard was 20 feet long and 10 feet tall, covered in white scales. Name: Gigantic Ape. Potential: 8 stars, Strength, 5-star Advanced. Abilities: Earth Armor, Giant Fist. Introduction: a giant ape with the power of its ancestors has unparalleled terrifying power. Name: Ice Monitor Lizard. Potential: 8 stars, Strength, 5-star Advanced. Abilities: Frost Spike, Tail Flick. Ice Armor. Introduction: a monitor lizard with ice blood, capable of using terrifying ice attacks. The giant ape slammed the branch down on the ice monitor lizard. The lizard was sent flying, but with a flick of its tail, it slashed across the giant ape's chest. A bloody gash opened, and blood gushed out. Roar. Enraged, the giant ape smashed the ice monitor lizard with its branch. This is intense. Is this even safe to watch? Guan Li ordered the Silver Lion riders to lie in ambush in the surrounding foliage. Since fate had brought him here, he couldn't possibly miss this. 2 5-star monsters. Just to be safe, Guan Li also summoned the Elven Archer Legion and had them hide in the treetops. The 5 Legion commanders were ready to strike on his order. The giant ape was covered in wounds. The ice monitor lizard was also badly injured, its scales cracked and broken. The giant ape activated its earth armor skill. A thick layer of earth hardened on its skin. With the earth armor protecting it, it became difficult for the monitor lizard to penetrate its defenses. Giant Fist. Terrifying power gathered in the giant ape's arm. It swung at the ice monitor lizard, hoping to end the fight with one blow. A layer of ice armor formed on the ice monitor lizard's body. Sharp icicles materialized around its mouth. The icicles shot out, colliding with the giant ape's fist. Boom. The force of the impact threw both giant beasts back. The surrounding trees shook. Both creatures crashed to the ground, bleeding heavily. They struggled to get up, but their injuries were too severe to continue the fight. Perfect. Attack. Seeing his chance, Guan Li ordered his soldiers to charge. The Silver Lion riders pounced, sinking their teeth into the giant ape. The soldiers guided the lions, tearing at the ape's flesh. The elven archers fired frostbolts. The giant ape's movements began to slow. Seeing its chance, the ice monitor lizard mustered the strength to flee, but a powerful hand grabbed its tail. It was dragged back. The 4 commanders rushed forward, focusing their attacks on the ice monitor lizard's wounds. Blood poured out as the ice monitor lizard grew weaker. Woohoo! The giant ape howled in agony. The silver lions had torn off most of its flesh, exposing bone. Killed the giant ape, received 20,000 points. The system notification chimed, signaling the giant ape's demise. Killed the ice monitor lizard, received 20,000 points. Ice armor X1. Immediately afterward, the system notified him again. He checked the system rewards. Name: Ice Armor. Type: Armor. Grade: 5-star Primary. Talent: Strong. Ability: Ice Slow. Evaluation: Armor made from the scales of the Ice Monitor Lizard, containing powerful ice energy. Chapter 75: The Giant Tree and the Python. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ice armor is a light blue suit of overlay armor. The shoulder pieces resemble a pair of imposing cricket claws. The body is covered in dense scales, radiating a palpable chill. An unenhanced person would feel a bone-deep cold just standing near it. Awesome! Guan Li nodded, pleased. Instead of equipping it himself, he handed it to Leo. Guan Li was never stingy with his legion. Thank you, Master. Leo accepted the ice armor with obvious excitement. He clearly loved the gear. Donning the ice armor, Leo looked truly badass. The silver lions had already divided up the giant ape's remains. Kyle respectfully presented the 5-star crystal core and purple cards. The dragon devoured the ice monitor lizard's body. It then offered up the crystal core and purple cards to Guan Li. Guan Li pocketed the cards and absorbed the crystal cores. After absorbing both, his strength noticeably increased again. With the battlefield cleared, Guan Li pressed onward. They were now deep in the South District. In just days, the area had transformed into a different world. The remnants of human civilization were being swallowed by the dense vegetation. Cracked, abandoned skyscrapers looked as if they'd been deserted for centuries. Vines snaked out of windows and climbed the facades. The Southern District was full of such buildings. On the way, Guan Li saw numerous human skeletons, but no survivors. The place had become off-limits to ordinary people. Crunch. Guan Li stepped on broken glass. Ahead, a massive structure loomed, the tropical rainforest area. Once a popular tourist destination in Z City, now it was a haven for mutated creatures. The perfect environment allowed them to evolve unchecked. Guan Li didn't know if the silver-horned python was still around, but since he was here, he had to check it out. The silver lion cavalry took the lead, followed by the legionnaires. Ooh. Dozens of figures appeared in the trees ahead, a group of fierce-looking mutant monkeys with long, wiry limbs. They spotted Guan Li's team and immediately attacked. A large rock hurtled towards Guan Li with considerable force. Leo stepped in front of Guan Li, raising his shield. Name, Iron-Armed Ape. Potential, 6 stars. Strength, 4-star. Advanced ability, Throw. Evaluation, mutated apes like to gather in groups and attack by throwing rocks. Irene. Take them out. Guan Li commanded. The elf archers targeted the monkeys in the trees. More than a dozen iron-armed apes scattered, whooping and screeching. They recognized the threat and fled into the dense forest, leaving behind a few corpses. The elf archers picked off a few more before they disappeared completely. Guan Li didn't pursue. His main target was the silver-horned python. These iron-armed apes were just small fry. The dragon devoured the corpses of the fallen apes. With each meal, its strength climbed, unexpectedly reaching the 5-star intermediate level. Long Chi handed over 6 4-star crystal cores and 3 blue cards to Guan Li. Guan Li moved on. The iron-armed ape encounter was just a minor diversion. He summoned all his soldiers, divided into teams of 10. They began to search the tropical rainforest area. 2 hours passed quickly. Guan Li still hadn't found any sign of the silver-horned python. Guess I'm too late. Guan Li shook his head. Just as he was about to leave, a team discovered tracks. Guan Li quickly gathered his soldiers and headed to the location. 10 minutes later, he arrived. He saw a large gully in the ground, clearly the trail of a giant snake. There you are. A grin spread across Guan Li's face. Only the silver-horned python could leave a trail like that. Looks like it's hurt. Guan Li noticed some bloody scales in the gully. They hadn't fallen off naturally. Even though the silver-horned python was the king of the tropical rainforest, the southern district was vast, and there were definitely other creatures more powerful than it. Let's go. Track it. Guan Li ordered. He wasn't about to let a wounded silver-horned python get away. It was a walking treasure trove. Guan Li followed the tracks. Along the way, they encountered the bodies of numerous mutated creatures. Their bodies were twisted and mangled, as if they'd been hit with incredible force. Guan Li quickly analyzed the scene. The silver-horned python must have killed these creatures, but its injuries must have been too severe to stop and feed. Kyle. Let the war lions have a feast. The corpses were fresh, so Guan Li wasn't about to waste them. The flesh of mutated creatures was full of energy. It was the perfect food for war lions. They preferred raw meat anyway. The thrill of the hunt. With Guan Li's approval, the silver war lions began to tear into the corpses. Something's not right. Looking at the carnage, Guan Li frowned. Logically, consuming the flesh of mutated beasts should help it recover from its injuries. But the silver-horned python had abandoned the food. What was it running from? Guan Li was puzzled. The war lions quickly devoured the corpses. More than a dozen 4-star crystal cores were given to Guan Li. Since the python had killed them, no cards were found. Guan Li collected the crystal cores and continued to follow the tracks. Finding the silver-horned python would solve the mystery. Following the trail for another 10 minutes, Guan Li gradually left the tropical rainforest area. the surrounding environment grew darker. It felt like they had entered some kind of enchanted forest. The vegetation was otherworldly, giant. Glowing bracts towered overhead, coral-like trees dotted the landscape. And luminous insects flitted through the air. The ecosystem here is different, Guan Li noted. Everyone, be careful, that even though they hadn't encountered any mutated creatures yet, Guan Li wasn't taking any chances. The weirder the place, the more cautious they needed to be. The tracks of the silver-horned python were still visible. Maybe this was its territory. Guan Li continued along the trail. Suddenly, he stopped. Everyone, take cover, Guan Li commanded through his mental link. The legionnaires disappeared into the surrounding bushes. Guan Li crouched low and moved forward cautiously. The area ahead suddenly opened up. A towering, ancient tree stood in a shallow lake, and coiled around it was a colossal python. Chapter 76 The Silver-Horned Python. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Let's do this. This is epic, that he mentally slammed shut the secret passage. It was like stepping into a whole new world. The sky vanished beneath a thick blanket of leaves. Under that canopy lay a crystal-clear lake, sprawling for miles, and at its heart, a colossal tree. Its trunk alone had to be 100 feet across, roots like monstrous horned dragons writhed and twisted in the lake water. A silver-horned python was coiled around the trunk. Its body was a patchwork of scars. In places, the bone beneath showed through. Just as Guan Li had suspected, the silver-horned python was wounded, seriously. He watched the giant monster clinging to the tree. The python had to be at least 15 feet wide and over 250 feet long. Its scales shimmered silver-white. Faintly, he could see currents of electricity dancing across its skin, and sprouting from its body were 4 tiny claws. Each claw was no bigger than a human arm. Lost against the python's massive form, they seemed almost insignificant. But Guan Li knew exactly what those claws meant. He noticed a small bulge on the python's head. Something was pushing, trying to break free. This silver-horned python was about to become a dragon. Or evolve into something else entirely. He activated his analysis system and pulled up the python's data. Name, silver-horned python, king class, potential, 10 stars, strength, 6-star intermediate, ability, unknown, evaluation, a giant python whose bloodline has evolved to its limit, on the verge of transforming into a brand new life form. Whoa! 6-star intermediate, Guan Li sucked in a breath. He hadn't realized the python was evolving so quickly. He was starting to feel pretty lucky. His earlier choices hadn't been reckless. He'd have been toast if he'd come looking for the python directly. It would have been a one-way trip. But now, with a stronger legion and the python already weakened by some other creature, things were different. Even with that terrifying 6-star intermediate strength, Guan Li might actually stand a chance. This was a creature on the cusp of dragonhood. Imagine the rewards for taking it down. Fortune favors the bold. Time to go big or go home. Then Guan Li noticed a gentle aura radiating from the giant tree's branches. The python's injuries were slowly healing under its influence. Not only that, but its power was growing. Those tiny claws were getting bigger. The bulge on its head seemed more pronounced, ready to burst open any second. Wait a minute. That tree is something else. That he quickly used the system to scan the giant tree. Name, giant tree of Tsang, potential, gold, strength, 8-star primary, ability, unknown, evaluation, a plant from the world of Tsang, possesses considerable intelligence and contains terrifying vitality. Holy cow, that this tree blew the python out of the water, but judging by the data, the giant tree of Tsang couldn't attack. Otherwise, an 8-star junior could have easily wiped the floor with the python. That made Guan Li breathe a little easier. Add the tree to the mix. Let's shoot for the moon. Guan Li opened the points mall. He had about 11 points. Legion upgrade card, increases a legion's strength by 1 level. Only usable on legions below 10-star strength. Price, 50,000 points. Without hesitation, he bought 2. Ding! Congratulations on your purchase of 2 legion upgrade cards. You're awesome. That he ignored the system's pandering. All 5 of his legions were stuck at 4-star. He could upgrade 2 to 5-star primary, or push 1 all the way to 5-star intermediate. He thought for a moment, then decided 2 5-star legions would give him the most bang for his buck. System. Upgrade the Elven Archer Legion. System. Upgrade the Shadow Sword Repair Legion. With his choices locked in, the upgrade process began. Shortly after, the Elf Archers and Shadow Sword Cultivators both hit 5-star primary. If he wanted to take down the Python, the Elven Archers' ranged attacks would be essential, and the Shadow Sword Cultivators' skills, Yujianshu and Shadow Binding, could be a game-changer, so Guan Li decided to prioritize those two. With the remaining points, he bought Powerful Armor-Piercing Arrows. Powerful Armor-Piercing Arrow possesses superior penetrating power. Price, 5 points. Heaving a sigh of relief, he purchased 3,000 of them. The Silver-Horned Python was a 6-star intermediate. After all, regular arrows wouldn't even scratch it. The power-up took Guan Li a few minutes. He didn't want to wait any longer. The Python's wounds were healing fast, some were already starting to scab over. Listen up. Archers, get ready. Guan Li took a few deep breaths, preparing to strike. The Elven Archers took aim at the Python, focusing on the open wounds. Fire. Dozens of armor-piercing arrows streaked through the air. The Silver-Horned Python didn't react at first. Then, as the arrows entered its 10-meter radius, its eyes snapped open. They were cold, indifferent slits. Roar. Star. The Python roared. Its massive body began to writhe. Arrows slammed into the Silver-Horned Python, but most missed their mark. The tough scales deflected the majority of the shots. Only a handful found their way into the flesh, along the seams of the scales, but even that small amount of ice had no effect on the Python. Attack. He hadn't expected the Python to react so quickly. Since a sneak attack was out, they'd have to face it head-on. Even though the Python had healed a lot, it was still weakened. Maybe it was only operating at 60% of its peak strength. Weakness. Guan Li used his skill immediately. The Python's power dropped by another 10%. Weakness was a potent skill. Kyle and his silver lion raced ahead, reaching the giant tree. The Python seemed to take the bait. It lunged down from the tree, aiming for Kyle. He stared into its bloody maw, unafraid. His spear thrust forward and up. The silver lion dodged to the side. The Python's sword passed. A white scratch appeared on its scales, courtesy of Kyle's spear. Silver wings through. Kyle unleashed his weapon's special ability. He lunged forward. The spear pierced the silver-horned Python's eye. Screech. Star. The Python let out a shriek. Kyle. Great job. Guan Li was ecstatic. By sheer luck, they'd blinded the Python in one eye. That would make all the difference in the fight to come. Chapter 77 Fierce Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The silver-horned Python roared in agony, thrashing its massive body and tail. Silver lion riders caught in its path were sent flying, crashing to the ground with blood gushing from their mouths. Their armor was crushed by the force, a testament to the Python's terrifying power. Even in its wounded state. Seeing his soldiers injured, Guan Li immediately used recovery cards to heal them. The silver-horned Python, recovering from the pain, fixed its single vertical pupil on Guan Li. It twisted, flinging aside the remaining soldiers, and lunged at him. Long Chi blasted a stream of ice from his arm, piercing the Python's scales. But the injury was minor. The Python opened its jaws wide, ready to swallow Guan Li whole. Teleport. Guan Li vanished. Armor-piercing arrows, radiating cold, shot directly into the Python's mouth. Hiss. The Python shrieked. The inner walls of its mouth were far more vulnerable than its scales. The icy power surged through its bloodstream, slowing its movements. The skeleton mages hurled fireballs, which slammed into the Python, scorching its scales black and reopening its wounds. Shen Lian, seizing the opportunity, used his sword control technique to drive a flying sword into the wound. Hiss. The Python whined again. Enraged, it lashed out with its tail, sending an armored shield guard sprawling, his shield dented. The Shadow Sword Cultivators joined in, each sending a flying sword into the Python's wounds. Driven to a frenzy by the pain, the Python thrashed wildly, its body leaving a trail of blood. Skeleton and armored shield guards were hurled through the air, but new wounds continued to appear on the Python. Though seemingly small, the sheer number of injuries was taking its toll. Elf archers peppered its wounds with armor-piercing arrows, while the armored shield guards drew the Python's fire. Silver's taunt forced the Python to attack them first. But the python was incredibly strong, and within minutes, a dozen shield guards lay dead. As time wore on, the python's wounds multiplied. It could have escaped, but it didn't. Guan Li realized the python was protecting the giant tree. This made things easier. If the python had wanted to flee, he might not have been able to stop it. The elf archers and shadow sword cultivators continued their long-range assault. Guan Li was burning through cards at an alarming rate, but he knew that taking down the silver-horned python would be worth it. Using swift shadow, he circled the python, waiting for an opening to strike with the blood-drinking blade. Its sharpness could pierce the python's defenses, leaving deep wounds. Guan Li kept the weakness technique active, constantly refreshing it. The dragon, using its temporary flight, landed on the python's back and began tearing into its flesh with the devil's claws. Under the legionnaires' relentless assault, the python weakened. But even weakened, it was still a formidable 6-star monster. Roar! The python roared, bucking wildly and throwing the dragon off its back. Silver lightning crackled around it. It knew that continuing like this meant certain death. But the giant tree was key to its evolution, and it wouldn't give it up. It had no choice but to fight to the death. A terrifying aura erupted from the python. Its 4 miniature claws began to grow rapidly, and a single silver-white horn burst from its head. The horn looked immature, but pulsed with terrifying energy. Roar! The python rose onto its 4 claws, the unicorn crackling with thick silver currents. This guy is forcing an evolution. Guan Li frowned. He knew the python was making a last stand. Kill it! Guan Li charged forward. He couldn't let the python evolve. It was now or never. Either the python died, or he did. Undaunted, the legionnaires attacked. The silver lion riders charged, Kyle raising his spear to strike. Rumble! A silver lightning bolt shot from the horn. The current spread through the lake water. Barrier halo! The off response was quick. The legionnaires were instantly shielded by a halo. The current touching their bodies no longer paralyzed them. The silver lion rider's spear pierced the python. Blood spurted out. The skeleton soldiers' bone spears joined in, and the flying swords continued to slash. The elf archers fired with blinding speed. The legionnaires relentlessly attacked, and the python retaliated, spewing silver lightning from its mouth. An armored shield guard was instantly killed. His body returned to the legion system, and entered the countdown. Hoo! The python continued to unleash silver lightning, instantly killing any soldier struck. I'll kill you! Guan Li's eyes burned. The blood-drinking blade flashed. The gore-fiend claw on his right arm was fully unleashed, bloody tentacles wrapping around his shoulder. He summoned his bleeding shadow clone, and both frantically attacked. Go to hell! Die! Under Guan Li's furious onslaught, the python's blood, energy, and life force continued to drain. It was in dire straits, unable to sustain the evolution. Roar! The python roared in fury, unleashing the energy it had been gathering. Not good! Guan Li's eyes widened. A powerful sense of danger washed over him. Bone armor! He instantly summoned bone armor, raising the blood-drinking blade in front of him. Rumble! Several bolts of silver lightning struck him. Puff! Guan Li coughed up blood. The lightning sent him flying into the sand. His bone armor was shattered, and blood flowed from his arm. The silver-horned python had interrupted its evolution to unleash the condensed energy. All soldiers nearby were instantly killed by the silver lightning. The wreckage littered the ground, a grim scene. Chapter 78 The Heart of Grass and Trees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boss, you okay? A few of the commanders who survived rushed over, asking anxiously. They'd used all their strength to fight off that electric attack, but they were in bad shape, barely able to stand, let alone fight. He crushed a mid-level healing card. It started healing both him and his commanders. The silver-horned python was in even worse shape. Its evolution had failed. The silver horn on its head was snapped off. The limbs it had grown were mangled. Its entire body was covered in wounds. There wasn't a single patch of unbroken skin, but it was fighting for its life. Dragging its broken body, it started crawling toward the giant tree in the sky. The energy it needed was there. Long Qi. Finish it off with the blood drinker. Guan Li managed to gasp out. Long Qi had gotten lucky using his flight ability to dodge the worst of the attack. He was only slightly injured. He grabbed the blood drinker blade from the ground and charged towards the python. Irene. Skeleton Mage. Stop it. Guan Li saw the python was almost in range of the giant tree. He shouted. He couldn't let it recover. Irene's frost arrow and lightning bolt spells slammed into the silver-horned python. They wouldn't kill it, but they slowed it down. It bought Long Qi some time. He sprinted across the python's mountainous body. He plunged the blood drinker deep into the silver-horned python. Bloody tendrils burst out instantly. They searched for the heart. Then, the devouring claws punched in. Horrible mandibles protruded from the massive, gaping maw. They clamped onto the python's still-beating heart. Long Qi ripped it out. A bright red heart tore free from the python's chest. Hiss. The silver-horned python let out one last death wail. Its massive body went still. Silver-horned python slain. Reward, 100,000 points, Silver Dragon Blood, Thunderbolt X1. The system notification confirmed its death. Phew. Guan Li sighed in relief. He collapsed right there on the beach. He could hear the gentle lapping of the lake water. He'd killed the python, but it had been a close call. Out of his original 200 soldiers, only about 70 ranged fighters were left. Good thing he could revive them, otherwise, he'd be broke. Boss. Are you okay? Irene helped Guan Li sit up. He felt a soft touch. I'm fine. Guan Li shook his head. Have the troops secure the area. Guan Li wasn't taking any chances. Yes, boss. Irene nodded. Long Qi was still devouring the python's heart. It was packed with insane energy. The blood drinker was also sucking up the corpse. The huge body shriveled up fast. Soon. Guan Li's injuries were mostly healed. He waved Irene off and went over to the giant blue tree. He gazed up at the massive tree towering before him. He felt tiny. Looking up, he could see dense branches and leaves standing near the giant tree. It felt like a soft breeze. It was a force that represented new life. His injuries healed even faster. Even a mid-level healing card couldn't match this. Guan Li was stunned. This tree was something else. No wonder the python was willing to die for it. Swish, swish. The branches swayed gently. An old voice echoed in Guan Li's ear. Terminology works. Whoa. It can even translate tree speak. Guan Li thought that was way too powerful. Young hero, please don't kill me, the giant tree begged. Kill you? Why would I do that? Guan Li asked, confused. Aren't you here for the heartwood inside me? The giant tree was puzzled, then it realized it had let something slip. Heartwood. Now that Guan Li knew about it, he couldn't just let it go. It was something that made the silver-horned python drool. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. You saved my life, after all, the giant tree said. I saved you. Guan Li was even more confused. Whether you meant to or not, you did. That giant python was hanging around me just for the heartwood. The giant tree explained, clearing up Guan Li's confusion. Our Zhangji giant tree family has a powerful life force. That life force builds up inside, eventually forming the heartwood. Heartwood can help creatures evolve and restore life. That python you killed wanted to devour the heartwood to break its own limits. If it had gotten another 2 days, it would have broken through my defenses for sure. Luckily, it died at your hands first, the giant tree explained slowly. I see. Guan Li nodded. If he hadn't killed the python, the tree would be dead. If you're telling me all this, aren't you afraid I'll try to take the heartwood? Guan Li looked at the giant tree and smiled. He was definitely tempted. That Zhangji giant tree might be powerful, but it couldn't defend itself. Otherwise, it wouldn't have begged him for help. Warrior, as long as you don't destroy my body, I'll give you the heartwood. The giant tree's words piqued Guan Li's interest. Tell me more. Shut the mouth and said. The heartwood is just concentrated life energy. Even if you take it, it won't be a big deal. But if my body is destroyed, I'll die. I was just taking a chance. I didn't think you'd actually understand me, the giant tree explained. Deal. You give me the heartwood, and I won't touch you. Guan Li wasn't going to push his luck, he wasn't greedy. If he got too pushy, it might backfire, and what if the giant tree had more than just the one heartwood? He thought heartwood it was a surprise. Even if it did not, he still wanted to kill the silver-horned python. Thank you. You're a good man, the giant tree said. Its roots started to tremble, the entire lake shook, a wooden heart slowly emerged from the roots of the giant tree. The heart was only the size of a fist, but it radiated life, boom, boom, boom. The powerful heartbeat echoed across the lake. Young warrior, I hope you keep your promise, the giant tree's voice echoed. The heartwood landed in Guan Li's hand. He could feel it beating. Don't worry. I'm not exactly a good guy. But I'm not a complete bastard, either. I promised I wouldn't hurt you, and I won't. Shut the mouth and said. Chapter 79 Skyscale Python Legion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lose the leafy canopy. I need to crash for a while. You're safe here. Rest easy. That was the last thing that Song Tree Giant said before falling silent. Even the energy radiating from its branches faded away. It looked like just another regular tree. This was the giant tree's way of protecting itself. Who'd bother messing with just any old tree anyway? He disabled the system and checked out the heart of grass and trees he now possessed. Heart of grass and trees, condensed over millennia by the Song Tree Giants, this spiritual essence is packed with life force. He could feel the energy surging from it. No wonder the silver-horned python wouldn't give up. Too bad for the snake. It ended up being a jackpot for him. After the dragon devoured the python's heart, it had cocooned itself in blood. The blood cocoon pulsed rhythmically, like something new was being born. Guan Li didn't interfere. He could sense that Long Qi was doing fine. This absorption would give him a major power boost. The blood-drinking blade had devoured the python's flesh and blood. The massive corpse was now just a thin snakeskin. Every last scrap of flesh had been consumed. The blood-drinking blade's edge looked even more sinister now. 7-star intermediate. By feasting on the silver-horned python, the blood-drinking blade jumped 2 ranks. Its bloody tendrils presented Guan Li with 6-star crystal cores and dark purple cards. The silver-horned python's crystal core was unique, a miniature, energy-condensed silver-horned python hovered inside. The dark purple card shimmered with brilliance, mysterious, gold-plated patterns adorned its corners. Just by looking at it, you could tell it was top of the line. Heart of grass and trees, 6-star crystal core, 200 points, silver dragon blood, thunderbolt, and a purple card. Not a lot of stuff, but everything was valuable. He checked the Legion system for soldier resurrection times. 12 hours. Which meant for the next 12 hours, his only usable soldiers were the elf archers and skeleton mages. Time to digest the loot. He wasn't in a hurry. That Song Tree Giant had assured him this place was safe. Guan Li noted the system's 2 rewards for killing the silver-horned python. Silver dragon blood. The silver-horned python's blood essence contains a trace of dragon blood. Thunderbolt. Once learned, this skill lets you unleash the power of lightning to strike your target. Sweet. Guan Li's eyes lit up. System. Learn Thunderbolt. Without hesitation, he learned the skill. Information flooded his mind. Skills rewarded by the system could be mastered instantly upon learning. Even an idiot could pull it off. *ZZZT. Star. Silver currents danced in Guan Li's hand. He amplified the energy, and a silver lightning bolt struck the ground. Boom. The impact left a scorched black mark. Awesome. He tried again. He opened his hands, silver currents crackling in his palms. *ZZZT. Star. Several lightning bolts, like silver snakes, lashed out at the lake. The lake's surface exploded, silver lightning dancing across the water. He stopped after a few tries. He was getting the hang of Thunderbolt. The more energy he poured in, the more powerful it became. It was a killer skill. After mastering Thunderbolt, Guan Li pulled out the dark purple card. With a slight squeeze, he crushed the card. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have obtained the Skyscale Python Legion card. A purple streamer spread out, revealing a golden card. A coiled python adorned the card's front. No way. A Legion card. Guan Li was floored. This purple card could actually unlock a whole army. He'd just gotten the Silver Lion Cavalry Legion not long ago. His luck was on a roll. Guan Li crushed the card in his hand, a summoning array slowly materialized before him, 6 massive pythons coiled around, appearing within the formation. "We serve, Lord," the Skyscale python leader said. Though intelligent, it couldn't speak human languages. Guan Li understood its meaning through his command skill. "Looks like you don't even need to stand up." He looked at the 6 giant pythons coiled on the ground, and thought twice about what he was going to say. This was Guan Li's first beast legion. Thankfully, it wasn't just a regular legion type. The Skyscale pythons were enormous. They looked like an evolved species. Guan Li checked the Skyscale python legion's info. Skyscale python legion can be advanced. Number 6. Potential 4 stars. Strength 4-star elementary. Leader Canglin. Skills scaled python tail whip, entangle. Constrict. Their abilities didn't seem that strong. Guan Li nodded calmly. He wasn't disappointed. The skeleton army hadn't started out strong either, but after several upgrades, they had grown powerful, so Guan Li wasn't afraid of a weak legion. He was afraid of a legion that couldn't improve. Fortunately, the Skyscale pythons weren't ordinary. They could evolve. That was enough for Guan Li. Building a series was going to be fun. Guan Li looked at the silver dragon blood in his hand. An idea struck him. The Skyscale pythons were ready for advancement. System. Can I add silver dragon blood when I advance the Skyscale python legion? When unsure, Guan Li asked the system. Yes. You must also add an advancement card. The system acted like a salesman. No problem. I've got advancement cards to spare. Guan Li nodded readily. He'd racked up over 600 advancement cards. System. Advance the Skyscale python legion. Add silver dragon blood. Guan Li selected the Skyscale python legion. Ding. Advancing the Skyscale python legion requires spending 200 advancement cards and 1 silver dragon blood. Proceed. The system prompt appeared. Advance. Guan Li confirmed without hesitation. Ding. Skyscale python legion advancement commencing. A flash of white light. The Skyscale python legion was returned to the system space. Guan Li was eager to see what the Skyscale python legion would evolve into. Even with the silver dragon blood added, the final result was still uncertain. Silver dragon blood was just an auxiliary item. The advancement process was going to take a while. It wouldn't be done in an hour and a half. Guan Li wasn't in a rush. Ding. The dragon has absorbed the silver-horned python's heart and gained silver claws. The system notified. Guan Li turned around. The blood cocoon encasing Long Qi began to crack. A claw covered in silver scales emerged. *rip. Star. The blood cocoon tore open completely, revealing the dragon inside. Defined muscles, silver hair. A terrifying aura emanated from its body. 5-star advanced. The silver-horned python's heart contained silver dragon blood. After Long Qi devoured it, his strength instantly jumped 2 levels. He'd also gained silver dragon claws. Long Qi kept surprising him. Chapter 85 Colorful Light Rain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Long Qi, let's see what you can do with your new abilities. Guan Li, gripping the blood drinker blade, charged toward Long Qi, covering the 30-meter distance in a flash. Long Qi, obeying Guan Li's command, vanished as well. The 2 figures clashed near the lake. An arm, now covered in silver scales, lunged out, grabbing for Guan Li. Bring it on! Guan Li exclaimed, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. He slashed the blood drinker down, the blade impacting the silver claws. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew. The silver flood dragon claw's defense was formidable. The blow only left a faint white mark. Despite the blood dringer's ability to pierce the silver-horned python's hide, even though the python was already weakened, this still proved the silver flood dragon claw's power. A silver electric current crackled and danced across the claws. Then, a terrifying surge of lightning launched toward Guan Li. Nice! You can control lightning too. Guan Li said, clearly pleased. He teleported away, vanishing from the spot. Okay, that's enough. Guan Li commanded. And Long Qi immediately ceased his attacks. The silver flood dragon claw retracted into his body. Long Qi's body could clearly handle multiple abilities, whether it was the tyrant's claw, the demon devouring claw, or the silver flood dragon claw. He could switch between them at will. Guan Li figured it made sense. After all, he was dealing with a corpse king. A one-in-a-million phenomenon, the sole corpse king born in all of Z City. That alone spoke volumes of its rarity. If Guan Li hadn't discovered and eliminated it early, it would have become a nightmare for the entire city. Just how terrifying would a fully grown corpse king be? Guan Li didn't know, but he knew it wouldn't be good. They could command corpses. The sheer number of zombies in Z City was already a terrifying thought. Guan Li produced the 6-star crystal nucleus. The energy within had solidified into a miniature silver-horned python. He took a few deep breaths and began absorbing it directly. Ugh! Guan Li shuddered. He felt a torrent of energy surging through his body. The miniature python, as if seeking revenge, thrashed and tried to shut down his internal organs. Guess I'm pushing it too hard, Guan Li gritted out, enduring the pain. This silver-horned python crystal nucleus was far more potent than a typical 6-star one. It had evolved forcefully, attempting to break through its life's limitations. Even in failure, the remaining energy had concentrated into the crystal nucleus. Its power was nearly 7-star level. He was essentially absorbing energy 2 levels above his current capacity. The python's energy was incredibly violent. In moments, Guan Li's body was a wreck. He coughed up blood. His skin was pierced by the raging energy, drawing blood. Boss, the commanders, witnessing this, were alarmed. Guan Li had been fine a moment ago. Now, he was covered in blood. I'm fine. Stay back. Secure the area and don't let anything interfere. Guan Li managed to say through clenched teeth. Understood. The commanders didn't question the order. It's okay. I came prepared. Guan Li wasn't blindly absorbing the nucleus. He held a pulsating wooden heart. It radiated a green light, representing the power of new life, the heart of vegetation. Guan Li dared to absorb such power because he had this in his possession. He swallowed it whole. Boom. 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 A powerful heartbeat echoed. The heart of vegetation dissolved, unleashing a wave of life energy. His damaged organs gradually healed under its influence. Now, 2 terrifying forces raged within Guan Li's body, one from the silver-horned python's crystal nucleus, the other from the heart of vegetation. They were in equilibrium. Neither could overwhelm the other. That's exactly what Guan Li wanted. Only then could he safely absorb them both. Guan Li admitted it was a gamble, but it seemed he'd bet right. Guan Li absorbed the 2 energies, continuously strengthening his body. His strength broke through to the high 5-star level, but he still had plenty of energy left. Guan Li pressed on, continuing to absorb. As he did, life energy slowly coalesced, forming a green tree cocoon. Guan Li's body was encased within it. The 5 commanders watched anxiously. There was nothing they could do. Guan Li forbade any interference. That was the order, and they couldn't disobey. Outside the forest in the South District, a heavy rain suddenly began. The survivor camp's peace was shattered. They watched in horror as the sky rained colorful lights. They initially tried to avoid it, thinking it was dangerous, but they soon realized they were wrong. Some frail old people, after being touched by the colorful rain, seemed miraculously rejuvenated. Their white hair gradually darkened. They looked almost 10 years younger. It turned out, it wasn't just rejuvenation. These old people were awakening. Their bodies were evolving, restoring their youthful functions. These newly awakened elders stood up. They stretched and performed Tai Chi smoothly, without any stiffness. My bad knee doesn't hurt anymore. My cataracts are gone. My back problems have vanished. My Parkinson's is gone. Amazing. Thank God. Those whose bodies had evolved felt like they'd been given a gift, and it wasn't just the old people. Many young people were strengthened by the colorful rain, with a higher chance of awakening. About 3 out of 10 awakened. Whoa! I think I can control rocks, a man wearing glasses exclaimed excitedly. He waved his hand, and the dirt in front of him rose up. I think I can shoot flames. A plain-looking girl shot flames from her hands. Awesome! I can control gravity. A tech nerd floated 10 centimeters off the ground. Those touched by the rain were either strengthened or gained abilities. Of course, not everyone was lucky. Many survivors felt no obvious change. Even if they did, it was only slight. The colorful rain had granted humans magical powers, but these lights also affected other creatures. After zombies absorbed the rain, they began to evolve in terrifying ways. Mutated creatures also became even stronger, even weak creatures began evolving crazily. The monsters also absorbed the rain. 5 days after the outbreak, the world changed drastically again. Guan Li knew nothing of this. He was in a forest of fantasy, breaking through his limits.